Oh, what's up, nerds? MTG Man, and some of you guys have noticed my deck builder site web app thing is a little messy. All right, you guys who've watched my videos, you'll see I'll scroll through, and I have like 20 different things. So I guess I just want to do a little showcase of what I am working on, have worked on, slash what could come to the channel. So first up, we have that folder of really terrible pauper decks. Um, that are really well, like that one's not even finished. They're terrible. Terrible decks. They don't work. Next up is from when I was doing that whole underplayed cards thing. In shorts, I do still have some of that. Some like, ooh, what's the most hated commanders? That sort of thing. I have one on things you can get with Zur the Enchanter. Just some things people don't think about, like getting Urza's Saga. And also just like, hey, it could get Mirrodin Besieged if you want to play an artifact deck, or Sigarda's Aid if you're doing an equipment deck, or I don't think I have it here, but well, actually, we'll get to the other one later. It's kind of just like a mess. Here's some like planeswalkers I wanted to talk about from pre-coms that weren't terrible. Whole mess, So next up we have little. You guys don't get to look in here, but this is the reserve list cards, list right there. Next up, we have, if I was to theoretically design a secret layer for Mishra, Karn, and I have an Urza one somewhere, like the things that would be in it, kind of lame. Here's one. Oh, and it removed all the cards. I just got a new phone. So this used to have, I think, like Azusa, Mikaeus, Urza, Kiki Jiki, and like some white card. It was like, oh, what if it was a secret layer of one powerful mage of each color, and then Johto would be like the extra card. Next up we have a self-mill deck I never really got anywhere on. Here is, I was thinking about doing a custom card that would search for wizards when it entered the battlefield. I wanted to see what interesting brews you could do with wizards. Just that kind of stuff. Here's a deck I started on. The whole concept was you'd play things like Kareth that steals dragons. Basically, all the cards here are super situational. Like, when are you ever going to be facing off against Kavus and be like, wow, I'm so glad I have protection from Kavus. Here are cards that I think should be unbanned from Commander in some sense. You got like Lutri, I think should be allowed as a commander, but not as a partner. Yeah, something like that, or like allowed in the 99. Just some odd cards I was gonna talk about at one point. Here's you guys won't like this, but the Rakdos Burn / Scam deck. Here's this commander deck I finished that was just like, the whole thing's based on chaos. I think I brought it up at one point. I have a whole bunch of lists of cards that are just ones I want to pick up from recent sets. Here's the beginning of my Pretty Boy Tribal deck. It's just like all the cutest Magic the Gathering boys, like, oh my lord, Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Ooh. And then, of course, Maskwood Nexus, because a lot of them are tribal payoffs. Post Malone. You can't tell me Space Bellerin isn't just like... Okay, so yeah, so that's one of them. Here's that kill count deck I had. This was a really stupid idea. I haven't bought it yet, but I think I might. Kind of the whole idea of Dan, where you're drawing from one deck, except it's just all the stupid goblins. But then part of the concept is that players share a mana base. Like, it's still untapped during each player's turn, but like, since everything's a creature and almost nothing has flash, everybody's sharing a mana base. It was weird. It was a little nutty. Here's a Beamtown Bullies deck I started on at one point. Cards I want to purchase, because I have a lot of like niche strategies I want to try. Here's a Narset deck I started on. I just wanted to do like turn after turn. I don't know what was going on there. Here's just a deck with Platinum Empyrean, because My dad had this card as a kid, and I could never figure out what it was. But then I figured out what it was, and now I don't want to forget it. Um, Next up, we have the phages, because I like sarcophage and sangrophage, or sorry, carnophage and sangrophage, because I just think they look neat. Like, there aren't too many other zombies in MTG that are designed that way, and I think they're cool. Here's a list of commanders that I don't mind if they're playing um, Sensei's Divining Top, because I think it's just overplayed and stupid. Here's a Nicol Bolas theme commander deck. It's not very good, but it does some like amassing, little zombie stuff. It's whatever. This and this are the two alpha decks, kind of, I talked about at some point. Next is this joke CEDH deck. I mean, not joke. No, every card in here is perfectly crafted, and it goes together very, very well. It's got like a really expensive mana base. I'll be doing a deck tech on this one sometime, so watch out for that deck tech. We got an insects deck I started on. Chatterfang I started on. Slivers I never finished. I guess Power Stones is probably one of the first decks I actually do have finished. I think it was originally like a $100 deck tech. It's not very good, to be fair. Like, I don't think there's really any. Well, I guess you could. I think the main way of winning was mechanized production and just getting out Power Stones. But it's not very good. So we have this Liberator deck, and these are just lands I own that I wanted to put in it. Here's a Mishra deck that got nowhere. Here's that Urza Secret Lair I talked about. I think Sunglasses of Urza is a funny card, but it's not on the reserve list, so I'll never get to talk about it anywhere else. Let's see, Inala Wizards, this modern deck that doesn't really work. I just think Blood Rage Brawler's neat. I think I've mentioned him before. We'll do a little test hand. So it's like a turn 1 Stomping Ground into Elvish Mystic, into like turn 2 Rancor, into tapped Rockvale, and it doesn't work. So that's definitely not the deck. Here's more lists of cards I want. Here's this deck I had at some point. It was in my $12 decks. It's whatever. Here's a self-mill deck. That's not very good. A lot of these decks are from, like, way back when I just started really learning what strategy was. There's a defender deck, because I wanted to build defenders that weren't Arcades the strategist. Here's this fungus deck, saprolings and whatever. It's $75. I guess it's kind of like a budget brew. Yeah, Pauper decks. Here's a Jumpstart cube I started on. So it would have like 10 of each color, and then I think a couple colorless, and it's more or less just a cube, but Jumpstart, because I think Jumpstart's a little bit easier to build, because you get a better sense of like, well, I mean, I had mine be 30 cards, because, I don't know. Actually, you can't really tell. I changed it later, but, yeah, I want it to be 30 cards, because then you can get a better sense of what it's trying to do. It never really went anywhere. I had some, like, infinite combos built into it, like, you could pick up the equipment one, get Lightning Greaves, pick up the mill one, and get, Cephalid Illusionist, and do infinite mill with that, something like that. But, like, that's infinite self-mill, I think. Anywho, never really went anywhere. Here's the Innistrad cube I've been working on. Again, it's like a Jumpstart cube. I think 20 cards. I guess, so a lot of my, is it cutting land? Yeah, it's cutting lands. I guess with my phone switch over, a lot of my deck builder stuff is just like, gone weird. And I guess I'll have to figure that out later. Um, Next up is my cube. Here's a cube I built a long time. I've really always wanted to build a cube that like works. This is one I built a long time ago. It like it looks weird. Um, Here we'll go by rarity. Like it wasn't terribly built. Um, as far as I know, like I played digitally with it, but I never really got to build to play it because it was like $400. It used some archetypes I liked. It had monkeys. It had vehicles, which I think are neat. Whatever. And then here's another one I started building, and it just never really went anywhere. The whole concept of my cubes usually is like, if it's not a jumpstart cube, you'll have so many of one card, like 5 of each common, 3 of each uncommon, so on and so forth, to try and emulate like an actual draft, but it's never really worked out. Next up, $100 decks. I literally only have one. I showed this off in a deck tech. I guess inflation, went up to 102. Um, yeah. So y'all have seen this deck before. I've been trying to fit See the Unwritten into it. Cause it theoretically is kind of like a combo thing. I guess next up is $12 decks. Most of these aren't finished. This is a thing I used to do. Well, I guess due to inflation, some of them have went up. But like, it's just a super budget deck. A lot of them have a lot of overlap. Here's like a Goblin Bombardment one. And then I have a lot of like ones where I started going somewhere, but like, it's really hard to keep in that budget sometimes. Um, Allies. I mean, if you guys ever want to see one of these fully built, let me know, because I do find some of them interesting. But like, eesh. Like this one went up to 17 now, I guess. I used to have like weird names for them. And it just kind of became like whatever they are. Here's a deck where I wanted to take Yamiji and just loop Rograk back into your hand, cast him for free for Yoshimaru, so that you could have infinite +1/+1 counters on Yoshimaru. I've got like Minotaur's one. However, Didgeridoo went up in price, so that's never really gonna work. Amori, Blim the Internet Funny Man, kind of like a pre Beamtown Bullies. So yeah, that's the $12 decks. And then I guess we'll finish it off with the Build Your Own Precon series I sometimes work on. I don't know if I ever really want to put it to the channel, but I've thought about it before. So the decks, well, they did come out to $45 when I made them. So I have like a couple different ones. I guess Shrines is unfinished. I think the one I'm gonna put up first is this one, which is an Amori all creatures deck using Miracle Lord of Bones. It can do some interesting things like go infinite with Devoted Druid, and then since all of your creatures are also they have to act like spells, you're gonna be able to get a second use with Miracle. So that's like a second Spore Frog. Your mana dorks die and then can still be tapped for mana as enchantments, double ETB draws, that sort of thing. It's not very good, but I don't know. I like building interesting decks most of the time more than just like good decks. Like if you want a good deck, well, I don't even know if this is a good deck. My Joyro Weatherlight Captain deck is pretty try-hardy though. It's just like, oh, we're gonna get those Cheerios on the board. We're gonna be drawing, and that's the deck. It's got 22 zero drops. Um, Here's the Shalai deck I made, and like I said, if you guys want to learn more, let me know. I guess it was just like a go infinite with, I think all will be one, maybe not. I don't know. Um, Sign with the Urdrago or Urdragon. Um, There's like another. I built it like a reanimator deck more than anything. Especially trying to benefit off things like Piru or Nicol Bolas without actually having to cast them. I think it has Curiosity, so that I can go infinite with Niv Mizzet. Thromok is like a aristocrats kind of, but also go wide goblin-y deck. I've got Tasha. I have a Peru build. That, yeah. The cards have been going up recently, so some of these are more expensive than, yeah, like this one went up $8. A lot more expensive than when I made them. And then too, I guess I haven't always optimized the card quality again, because certain printings will go up. Like, I could probably take out this $1.46 Soul Ring, put in a 96-cent Soul Ring, and get the price down like that. I've got a Turgid deck. I hate this deck because you feel like a dick playing Turgid. It's also really easy to build. Just be like, oh look, oh you can make them discard what you want. Oh, each player sacrifices a creature. Well, you sacrifice one creature and get back 3. So, it's just a little too easy. Here's like the mono green life gain deck. This is like my sort of jam. It's gimmicky. It uses Blossoming Bog Beast to finish games. There's no real mono green life gain commander. So you use Sorak to give your things haste so that Bog Beast can attack the turn it comes down. I mean, it does have Protein Hulk to keep it on track, but like, it's generally just pretty janky, pretty out there. And then I have a whole bunch of decks I've started on. I've got a lot of them just have a commander to them and no real cards. Some of them have like the base of what I need, but nothing else. Here's a deck I wanted to do that I think the plan was you get Dovescape out and then convoke things, because then when they're convoked, they cost less, but you're still getting that many doves. Stupid things like that. Like a Trample Matters deck, because there's very few cards that care about trample like being on creatures. This one's pretty cool. I mean, in general, I wanted to try some of the commanders that came with Aftermath. Here's like a Battles Matters deck, but I don't really have a commander for it. In general, I have a lot of projects I guess I've started. Here's that Beamtown Bullies deck. I have to finish that up. I mean, it really only needs 5 cards. But like, yeah, that's it. So